Law Live. I'm with my friend Tuscaloosa attorney David Martin. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
We are going to talk a little bit about the law. It's a niche area of the law that not many people know about, but David and his firm are experts in it, and it's the ERISA set of laws, and it deals with anybody just about who's employed or has any financial stake dealing with an employment setting. But David, I appreciate you coming in this morning, driving in from Tuscaloosa.
Glad to be here.
And let's let the folks tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I grew up in a home where my father was a minister, so we always had a service-oriented attitude about trying to make the planet a little bit better place and being kind to other people and trying to help folks out along the way. Eventually, I went to law school, and after I finished law school, I stayed right there in Tuscaloosa and continued to practice there, and I began to look for an area of law that I really thought would be more service-oriented, where I could try to help people out in very difficult circumstances. Mm-hmm. And eventually I came upon ERISA. Actually had a couple of ERISA cases that go back to 1992, and then began to see those develop more and more. A lot of attorneys don't like ERISA, and there's some good reasons for it, but it seemed to suit me, and as a result, I began to stop being a jack of all trades and decided I'm focusing on this one area, and I'll let my practice go in that area. So by about 2000, that's what we were doing, and then eventually I left the firm that I was in because we did more full practice type civil litigation, and I started my own firm that's just devoted towards helping people with employee benefit claims.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Explain what ERISA stands for, and generally, what does it address? What type of matters?
Yeah, it's a long word. It's called it's an acronym, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. So we call it ERISA to shorten it up, but as Bernard said a minute ago, if you have benefits at your workplace, probably 90% of the time those benefits are going to fall under this federal law called ERISA. And unfortunately, the law is a bit unfair to people. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but it's a very challenging law. And as a result, a lot of insurance companies and plan administrators deny these claims. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons for that is there's not a big downside to denying your claim.
They get to keep the money longer.
That's right.
And just slows everything down. Well, David, let's jump into, let's give some real life examples of ERISA claims. Folks who are working, not every employment situation deals with ERISA. What type of employers, what's the scenarios, and let's give some real examples.
Sure. Well, a lot of employers provide benefits like long-term disability to cover you if you get sick or hurt. And a lot of people don't realize this, but you're really only one sickness or one accident away from having a long-term disability claim. Mm-hmm. A lot of major employers provide that kind of benefit. A lot of government employers provide it. Churches provide it. Schools provide it. Quite a few provide it. And some people don't even know they have that benefit, but it's very important. Now, Bernard does workers' compensation, and if somebody gets hurt at work, that will cover that. But if you are sick at home, you need that long-term disability coverage to protect your income, because if you cannot work anymore, how long are you going to last? Mm-hmm. It's very challenging, very difficult. I know a fellow, I'll call him Mr. P, mm-hmm. and he had to have neck surgery. He began to have a lot of headaches and a lot of pain at work. He had the neck surgery, huge scar through the front of his neck. Tried to go back to work, but could not do it because his job required him to focus on a computer screen for the better part of the day. And if you just sit there in a chair looking at a computer screen, the pain can get really severe. And of course, if he took the pain medication that was prescribed to alleviate the pain, there goes his thinking. He can't think anymore. But the insurance company denied his claim. And he thought, if I just tell them how I'm feeling, if I give them my medical records, they will go ahead and pay the claim.
And David, to be to be clear, this is not in a workers' compensation setting. This is his own health insurance company that you're talking about where he was being denied.
That's right, long-term disability insurance company. The type of companies that provide benefits through your workplace are long-term disability carriers. There's health insurance carriers, which we're all more familiar with.
Right.
And then there may be a retirement plan, 401k, pension. Those sorts of things also fall under ERISA. And then there may be a life insurance plan. Well, you may be familiar with the medical benefit claim setting, and hopefully most of your claims get paid there, but it's much more challenging in the other types of claims, long-term disability and life insurance claims that pop up, as well as retirement claims. The reason for that is because once a decision is made, you have to rebut that decision with all the evidence possible, and you have to do that before you even go to court. And if you don't do that and you just think, well, I'll just send them my records and they'll pay this claim, you're likely to lose. And then once you go to court, the judge is only going to allow what you put into that claim file to be heard as evidence for the most part. And as a result, you're going to lose your case once you go to court.
Guys, I want to thank everybody who's watching. We're with David Martin. David is a Tuscaloosa attorney and an expert in the area of ERISA law. I want to thank Rojan, my buddy, attorney in Mississippi, Daryl up in Kentucky. Hi, guys. Dad in Gulf Shores, and Brittany in town. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have questions for David as we go along, please throw them into the comment section either while we're live now or later on, and we'll get those questions to David. But continuing the process, we've got a denied claim. You go through the administration part, then you have to file your lawsuit, and then you get into court.
Right.
And that's where we are right now. So tell us about that part of it.
Sure. Once you're in court, there's only going to be a few things the court will let you conduct discovery on. In other words, ask questions to the insurance company and obtain more documents from the insurance company, because they won't be entirely forthcoming during the claim process and give you everything they ought to give you. So basically, since it's real limited, you're going to have to know what arguments need to be made before you go to court and how you can possibly show that that decision was wrong and unreasonable.
David, what's the reason for going into court? What's your ultimate goal most of the time?
The ultimate goal is simply to get the person the benefits that they're supposed to have, and then they get put back on claim if it's a disability claim.
So for getting your medical care hopefully paid for,
Right.
and then if you're under certain types of policies, you could be paid weekly or monthly benefits for the fact that you're off of work and have this policy.
That's right. And so, one of the problems is you go to court, but the judge cannot award benefits going into the future. The judge can only award benefits in the past. And so you have to go right back to that insurance company.
Sure.
So there's a lot of strategies and nuances involved in this.
Well, let's say that you're an employee of a big company. Let's say you belong to a hospital. I'm just picking something, and you may not even realize you have these benefits available to you. As a responsible employee, what should you do to inquire with your company about what benefits you may or may not have?
Good question. Well, the first thing you want to do is contact your human resources department, because they are going to be responsible for marshaling your benefits. Otherwise, you go to the head guy if it's a small business and ask the main hiring person, about those benefits. It's important to know what you have, because most of us don't have set aside in a savings account 2 years of benefits,
Right.
2 years of money. We just don't discipline ourselves to do that. Most of the time, if you file a Social Security disability claim, it may be 2 years before you see any money. As a result, you need that long-term disability benefit to pay you to help you survive if you don't have those cash reserves of several years. It's real important. And the problem is, a lot of times it's like a snake in the woods. All right, you're out walking in the woods, it's a nice day, and you don't realize that there's a copperhead up ahead right under that log. It's very subtle, it's very quiet, and then you step on it and you have a bad consequence. Well, you need to know your benefits in advance Because if you find out too late that you did have a disability benefit, or you did have some sort of pension disability benefit that would protect you and cover you, and you don't make a claim in a timely manner, you're toast.
Yeah.
You will not get that benefit paid because there's notice provisions that require you to make a claim within a certain amount of time.
Sure. For those of you just joining us, we're talking with David Martin out of Tuscaloosa, who's an expert handling ERISA claims. David's talking to us a little bit about the ERISA process. Good morning, Nicole, out in California. I know it's early. Thank you for tuning in for a few minutes. David, I know that not all employers are subject to the ERISA laws. Can you give us an idea of what type of employers are or not?
The only employers that are not subject to ERISA will be churches and then governmental entities. All right? But you still have to be careful to think that your plan is accepted from ERISA in those instances, because your plan can be administered through an association. For example, a lot of school teachers have a disability benefit and a life insurance benefit, and it's provided through the Alabama Education Association. Well, that puts it back under ERISA.
Sure.
So if you work for the government, if you work for the school, you might be exempt from ERISA. Everybody else is covered by ERISA. Everybody else is there.
Now, the ERISA laws and acts that we're talking about, those are federal laws. Is there an equivalent or similar type of laws on the Alabama state law level?
No. It's not.
And I didn't think that there was, but you're the expert. So
You're dealing with a breach of contract case under state law if you don't receive a benefit you were supposed to receive. Of course, if it's a retirement benefit and you're a government employee with Alabama, well, then there's the RSA, the Retirement System of Alabama, that you work through to obtain your benefit. We do handle those cases too, because it falls in that arena of employee benefits. But basically, everybody is just about going to be covered by ERISA. And see, ERISA takes away punitive damages, and it takes away mental anguish damages, and so there's no stick to make the insurance company do what they're supposed to do. There's no downside to it. It's sort of like the mother telling their child to quit misbehaving in the grocery store, and they tell them 20 times, but unless the child gets taken out and scolded or disciplined in some way, the child just continues to misbehave. And that's the way the insurance companies can be.
Well, that's where over the years with us handling the work comp claims, I don't know how many times we've had the great fortune of calling you or Clay, one of your partners in the office, and just saying, I got something here. We're handling the work comp case. I don't know what it is, but it looks like this is your bailiwick, so to speak, and you guys do such a beautiful job of going through all of that and helping out many of our clients. So thank you for those continued representation of those folks.
And we are service oriented. Some cases can be very small, some cases can be very big. We handle all the cases the same way. We want to provide good quality service. We have a saying in our office, and that is, the hand of the diligent prospers. And basically, we believe that if you provide quality service and you try to do your very best in handling the claim top to bottom according to a good solid process, that you'll have a better result in the end.
And you guys do get some excellent results, and
thank you.
And you should be acknowledged for that. And I know that folks, at least around the state, know that. David, I did want to tell you, with our practice being work comp predominantly, Social Security, et cetera, if work comp doesn't apply, a lot of times there may be short-term or long-term disability policies that may be applicable.
That's right.
But it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be accepted claims. So my question to you is, in that scenario for an injured worker, what's the best practices? What's the best way for them to get the ball rolling at the front end so that it doesn't cause you and the client headaches on the back end? What's the best way to get the process going?
Well, as soon as you're hurt or injured or sick or out of work for a while, you of course want to give notice if there's a workers' compensation injury, but you also want to go ahead and file a claim for long-term disability benefits. Sometimes you can pursue both claims at one time, and then you also may have a Social Security disability claim if you're going to be out for 12 months or longer. So you need to immediately provide the appropriate notices to the individuals to file all three claims. you don't know which one is going
That's
to
right.
come through.
That's exactly right. David, how can folks get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach out to your firm?
Well, we have an 800 number, 1-800-284-9309. We handle these cases all over the South. There's meeting locations. We meet with clients all over the state of Alabama. You can send an email at mlg@erisacase.com.
Okay.
That's mlg@erisacase.com, stands for the Martin Law Group. And then, of course, our local telephone number is 205-343-1771.
And we'll put all of your contact information in the comments
Excellent.
section
Thank you.
when we're done. And we're getting closer to the end of the interview, and I sure appreciate your expertise and sharing all of your knowledge with folks. David, if a person who's employed with a big company and they know they've got these types of policies available to them, do they start at the human resources department, or where do they go within their company typically to let somebody know I need to start this claim, this process?
Right. That's a very good question. You should go to Human Resources. You should ask for a copy of the summary plan description, which is just your policy that the company gives that formal name for. And you also may want to ask for the full plan document in case the summary plan description summarizes things too much.
What about those people who are scared to make a claim? I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job or be disciplined somehow, that if I go to HR and say, I think I either have a work comp claim or a short-term, long-term disability claim, what does the law provide any protections there?
It does. The ERISA statute states that if your employer intentionally fires you because you're pursuing an ERISA claim, well, then there can be a case arise against your employer. So your employer doesn't want to do that. Your employer's interest should be to allow you to get the benefit you need. And of course, a lot of employers, they don't have the resources to be able to continue to pay you while you're out and sick or out and hurt. Even if it's not workers' comp, they don't have the resources to keep you on. And so long-term disability is an excellent benefit for the employer to encourage employees to take, so that it takes that pressure out.
I know that a lot of ownership or management don't necessarily see it that way, but if they saw the big picture, they'd see it's actually beneficial to them in the long run. One last question, that this comes up many times in work comp claims for me. While the person is out on work comp or out on short-term or long-term disability, but they have health insurance provided through the company, how do those premiums get paid?
Well, the premiums are paid either through a cafeteria plan where there's pre-tax deductions taken out of your check to pay for those health insurance premiums, and then it's supposed to be transmitted to the insurance company. Sometimes cases arise where the employer keeps the money.
That's right.
And that's a problem.
Or if it's coming out of the client's check but they're not working any longer, there's no money coming to the employee, does the company have to give the employee notice that, hey, you're in jeopardy here, or potentially in jeopardy, if you don't pay these premiums?
That's right. That's another snake. We call that COBRA.
Yeah.
And it's another acronym,
That's right.
but basically they're supposed to give you notice within a certain number of days, depending on who is the plan administrator. There's a few different time frames involved there, but they're supposed to give you notice of your right to continue that coverage, and then you have a period to elect that continuance. You'll have to pay 102% of the cost of that coverage, but still, if you're looking at astronomical medical bills, the cost of the health insurance coverage is important for you to come up with.
And it's up to the employee to be proactive. If you don't get that, what we call the COBRA notice or letter, you better be proactive in getting that, because again, like David was talking about, a snake in the grass, you don't want to step on it. You don't want to wait too late. You need to be ahead of the game.
Yeah,
well,
it's
guys,
very strict.
We've been talking with David Martin this morning from Tuscaloosa about ERISA claims. He is the man when it comes to these issues. If you have questions, concerns about any type of plans or benefits that you may be unaware of, please give David a call. Give me a call. I'll be glad to get you in touch with David. Again, we'll put his information in the comments section. And David, I sure appreciate your few minutes this morning. Guys, this is going to conclude today's episode of NOMBERG Law Live. We'll be back again next week, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day and your week, and we'll catch you next week.